For the first time in decades, America is going all in on passenger rail. The sleek Airo trains are on the horizon. The NextGen Acela Express is almost here. And now, rail fans across the country are buzzing with excitement over Amtrak's boldest reveal yet. Brand new single-level long-distance coaches. These long-awaited replacements will finally retire the worn-out cars that have been holding back comfort, style, and passenger enjoyment for years. So what will these new trains actually look like? How will they change the ride for travelers? And how is Amtrak planning to reinvent single-level long-distance travel for a whole new generation? Let's dive into today's episode of ONtheTrains. But before we jump into the details of the new fleets, let's start with the story so far. Context. This initiative is part of the single-level long-distance fleet replacement, a crucial segment of Amtrak's broader long-distance fleet replacement (LDFR) program. Basically, a massive plan to swap out the oldest trains still running on some of Amtrak's most famous routes, like the Lakeshore Limited, Cardinal, and Silver services. Right now, these routes are still using Amfleet 1 coaches from the 1970s and Viewliner 1 sleepers from the 80s and 90s. They've worked hard over the decades, but the problems are stacking up. They break down more often. Accessibility isn't where it needs to be. The interiors feel dated. And thanks to wrecks and wear, there are fewer cars left in service. The LDFR program has up to $7 billion behind it from the bipartisan infrastructure law. While the single-level orders will come in later phases, rising demand makes upgrades urgent. Long-distance ridership jumped 8% in FY24 to nearly 4.3 million trips. Originally, Amtrak wanted to tackle all long-distance cars in one big project. But the plan split in two when the bi-level Superliner replacement ran into trouble. The first RFP in December 2023 got bogged down in complicated requirements, like elevators and multiple car types, leading to repeated rewrites. By May 2025, the whole effort was put on hold after manufacturers backed away. The good news? The single-level plan is full steam ahead. In August 2025, Amtrak sent out a dedicated RFP focused on practical, buildable designs. So what exactly does this new fleet look like? We'll dive into that next. But first, if you're enjoying this train journey, hit like, subscribe, and help keep the momentum going. Every bit of support fuels what we do. All right, let's talk about Amtrak's brand new single-level long-distance fleet. And it's looking pretty exciting. Design of new fleets. There are three main types of cars, each with its own style and purpose. First, the high-capacity coach. This one's built for the busiest routes, like the Northeast Corridor. Think 70 seats in a 2-2 layout, with a 37-inch pitch, one wheelchair space, and both a standard and accessible restroom. The seats look a lot like what you see on the Siemens Venture and Airo trains, but with some nice extras: cup holders, device stands, and subtle winged headrests. Recline is modest, though whether that's a real tilt or a forward-sliding seat pan like the Venture coaches remains to be seen. Next up, the standard premium coach. This one's designed for overnight trips or business class service, with 62 seats in a 2-2 layout and a 42-inch pitch. Not as huge as the old Amfleet 55 inches, but way more modern and comfy. These seats are plush, with recline built for sleep, privacy wings, adjustable headrests, pillows, leg rests, USB ports, cup holders. Specifically, it's like premium economy on an airplane, but bigger, cozier, and made for rail. And of course, dining on the rails gets an upgrade too. The cafe car has 25 seats in a 1-2 layout, thanks to a wide 32-inch aisle that makes it fully accessible. Amtrak is asking designers to think creatively about this extra space, how to make eating, hanging out, or just stretching your legs more comfortable and enjoyable. Across all three cars, Amtrak is ditching the old stainless steel look for a blue-gray finishes, oak and marble finishes, and hotel lobby-style vestibules with digital wayfinding. Basically a hotel lobby on wheels. These trains put accessibility first, one spot per coach, 2 in cafes, and wide pathways that let passengers move easily between cars. On top of that, the design makes maintenance simpler, helping Amtrak run a more sustainable, long-lasting fleet. So, you're probably wondering, when will we actually get to ride these new trains? Here's the lowdown on Amtrak's plans. Timelines and challenges. The procurement timeline kicks off with the bidding process, expected to wrap up in late 2025, with a contract award possibly coming in mid-2026. From there, Amtrak will move into final design and production, which will stretch over several years. It's not happening overnight, but it's exciting to see real progress finally taking shape. As for delivery projections, if all goes according to plan, the first new single-level trains could roll out in the early 2030s, with the most optimistic projections pointing to as soon as 2031, especially if Amtrak leverages existing platforms like the Siemens venture. Interestingly, these single-level cars could hit the rails before the bi-level Superliner replacements, which are targeted for 2035, but face delays and uncertainty. While we wait for the new trains, Amtrak isn't standing still. They've invested $28 million to refresh 400 Superliners and 49 Viewliners, with work on the Viewliners starting in 2024. By the end of that year, 63 idled cars back in service, helping keep long-distance routes running smoothly. Of course, there are some challenges and criticisms. Public reactions on forums like Amtrak Unlimited have been lively. Many point out that with only 42-inch seat pitch, the leg rest seats in long-distance coaches won't let most people stretch their legs fully. Others dug into the RFP documents and expressed frustration. I'm disappointed there are no mock-ups of sleeper cars, diners, or bag dorms. I like that they managed to fit in a second restroom in the coaches, but I'm confused about the wheelchair paths. It looks like wheelchair users can only move through the cafe car to reach part of the coach on either side, and each coach has only one wheelchair space, plus 2 in the cafe. These discussions show that rail fans are excited, but also scrutinizing every detail. So, what's your take on these new designs? Free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Then there are procurement risks. The Office of Inspector General, OIG, has flagged the project as mega complex, warning of potential cost overruns of 6–8% for maintenance, delays from unfilled staff vacancies, and the need for facility upgrades. Even though the single-level effort is Phase 4 of the larger LDFR program and wasn't part of the initial RFP, it's being advanced separately to avoid the slowdown seen with the bi-level effort. The broader implications. The pause on bi-level replacements could slow long-distance expansion, but moving forward with single-level cars keeps eastern routes on track. To sum up, the rollout won't be instant, but Amtrak is making steady moves to bring a modern, more comfortable single-level fleet to the rails. And forums like Amtrak Unlimited show that rail fans are buzzing with excitement, scrutiny, and plenty of debates about what's coming next. Amtrak's new Superliner car is finally on the way. For decades, Amtrak's Superliner cars have been iconic symbols of cross-country rail travel. But let's be honest, they're outdated. And they've been riding the rails for over 40 years. Now, after years of speculation, delays, and growing passenger frustration, Amtrak is finally moving forward with a long overdue replacement. This isn't just a facelift, it's a turning point for the future of long-distance train travel in America. In today's episode of On the Trains, we'll break down the big announcement, what to expect from the new fleet, and what this could mean for the next generation of rail passengers. Amtrak's vision. Before we dive into Amtrak's long-term goals, let's first explore why the Superliners are being replaced. While the Superliners may still carry a sense of retro charm, behind the scenes, they're pushing the limits of what aging rail equipment can handle. Some haven't seen a factory floor since the late 1970s, and with rising maintenance costs, scarce parts, and mounting service delays, Amtrak has reached a crossroads: overhaul or fall behind. Amtrak's choice? A once-in-a-generation overhaul. Through its long-distance fleet replacement, LDFR program, Amtrak is launching the largest equipment acquisition in its history, by both cost and volume. This massive initiative aims to redefine long-distance train service for decades to come, starting with the retirement of hundreds of aging Superliner and single-level cars. Backed by up to $7 billion from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the first phase will deliver new bi-level rail cars for 9 of Amtrak's 15 long-distance routes. And the need couldn't be clearer. Amtrak's long-distance fleet included 765 rail cars from 5 different generations, many of them long past their prime. In fiscal year 2023, the long-distance service line carried 3.9 million passengers. That's 14% of total ridership, yet it contributed over 25% of ticket revenue. Even though these routes often operate at a financial loss, they provide essential mobility and economic connections for communities across the country. There's also history behind this push. In 1979, Amtrak had to cancel routes like the Floridian simply because it couldn't afford to keep outdated equipment running. This time, the company is acting before reaching that breaking point. With deliveries expected to begin in the early 2030s, a new era of train travel is finally on the horizon. So, what exactly is Amtrak looking for in these next-generation superliners? What Amtrak wants? The answer goes far beyond cosmetic upgrades. One of the most groundbreaking changes Amtrak is pushing for is full accessibility. A key requirement in the new design is the inclusion of elevators inside bi-level cars, something that's never been done before in U.S. passenger rail. It's a major leap, signaling a serious commitment to meeting the needs of passengers with disabilities and making long-distance travel more inclusive across the board. The passenger experience is also getting a much-needed refresh. Amtrak is calling for upgraded coach seating with roomier 22-inch wide seats arranged in a 2x1 layout, offering more space and deeper recline. And for those looking for privacy, the new fleet will feature solo suites, compact private rooms where a 34-inch seat converts into a full-length flatbed. Food and beverage service is also in for an upgrade, with plans for a first-class lounge, staffed bar service, and self-serve coffee stations, all aimed at elevating the onboard experience. But comfort alone won't cut it. Operational efficiency is just as important. Between fiscal years 2022 and 2024, Amtrak spent nearly $200 million just to keep its aging Superliner fleet running. That kind of upkeep? No longer sustainable. The new cars must be more reliable, easier to maintain, and built to reduce long-term costs while keeping trains running on time. Initially, Amtrak envisioned 9 different car types for the replacement program, but as of mid-2024, that number has been streamlined to 5 or 6, simplifying production, reducing complexity, and encouraging more manufacturers to compete for the contract. The current request for proposals breaks features into 3 categories: must-haves, nice-to-haves, and won't-haves, with a clear focus on practicality and innovation. So where does the Superliner replacement effort actually stand? But before we get into it, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any updates from our channel about the world of trains, the timeline, and the problems. Amtrak began its Superliner replacement journey in 2022 with a request for information, collecting input from manufacturers. That feedback shaped a formal request for proposals issued in December 2023. But by mid-2024, the process ran into turbulence. Suppliers raised red flags over the scope and complexity, especially the inclusion of elevators in bi-level cars and the number of car types. This prompted Amtrak to revise the RFP and push the timeline back. The selection of a manufacturer is now expected in 2026. This shift sparked rumors that the program might be scrapped altogether. But as of last month, Amtrak reaffirmed the effort is alive and moving forward. The delay, officials say, reflects ongoing collaboration with car builders, a joint effort to refine what's actually possible. Meanwhile, Amtrak has widened its strategy. While bi-level Superliner replacements remain a top priority, a separate procurement for single-level long-distance equipment is being fast-tracked. This could help fill critical gaps elsewhere in the network, even as the Superliner project moves toward a phased rollout starting in the early 2030s. As of July 2025, Amtrak is still in the procurement phase, with no builder selected yet. But interim upgrades are already in motion. Over 270 Superliner cars were refurbished by summer 2024, and 125 new ALC-42 locomotives, part of a $2 billion investment, are steadily entering service. Yet the program faces serious hurdles. Chief among them is the challenge of design feasibility. Elevators in bi-level cars are untested in the US, and multiple car variants complicate production. These issues have led to supplier hesitation, RFP revisions, and even internal friction within Amtrak, including high-profile staff resignations. Oversight has also drawn criticism. The Office of Inspector General flagged organizational gaps in Amtrak's capital delivery team, weak contingency planning, and leadership turnover. In response, Amtrak is staffing up, bringing in 6 new executive hires and preparing a revised risk register, due by March 2025. Technical compatibility adds another layer of complexity. The new equipment must run alongside aging superliners for years, but differences in systems like suspension and onboard tech could require costly upgrades to maintenance facilities. Then there's the issue of cost and capacity. At over $27 million each, the new cars far exceed global benchmarks. And early specs show reduced passenger space. For example, sleeper cars dropping from 43 to just 30 beds. This could limit capacity on high-demand routes, just as Amtrak looks to grow ridership following a record-breaking 2024. Still, despite the delays, cost debates, and internal challenges, the Superliner replacement is moving forward. It's a slower, more complicated process than expected, but abandoning it simply isn't an option. The future of Amtrak's long-distance network depends on getting it right. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this update insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more rail news. See you next time.